What is up, everyone? Ninja Nick back with another League Challenge tournament. This is round one, best of three here. We have Alberto on the left with our friend here, Alan Rogers, on the right. Alberto is on the Ting-Lu deck. I'm really excited to actually feature this because it is a very interesting deck that not a lot of people are playing right now. But it still has its merits to it, and Alan here is on the Lost Box. So as you can see by the playmat we are playing on, we are actually at a venue called ALA Tompkins TCG, which is in Pleasant Valley, New York. It's my first time going here. It's a pretty nice store. They asked if I could use their playmat, and I'm not going to say no to that. Give you guys a little bit of variety of what is in the background there. So we do see that Alberto does go for the Squawkabilly, plays an escape rope to put it active to protect that Koraidon that was started onto the bench, protected by putting it to the bench. And we actually see the, I think the Squawk and Seize we did there. That's why he turned the Squawkabilly sideways. And that allows him to discard his hand and draw 6 on the first turn of the game. Squawkabilly can only be used on that first turn of the game. And we also have the very important EXP share that is on that Koraidon. So if any Pokemon in the active spot gets knocked out, you can move one basic energy from that knocked out Pokemon to the Koraidon before you put that Pokemon in the discard pile. We also have the Gape Jaw Bog as the stadium card. Anytime a Pokemon is benched, it does take 2 damage counters. So he is using that in combination with the Ting-Lu. As soon as the Ting-Lu is in the active spot, it shuts off the abilities of any Pokemon that have damage counters on them except Pokemon EX from your opponent. So the idea is to have the Gape Jaw Bog down. Every time Alan benches a Pokemon, it'll take damage, and then the Ting-Lu immediately shuts off that Pokemon's ability since it has damage counters on it now. The Ting-Lu also does, I believe it's 150 and then 20 snipe to the bench, so it can also start setting up ability lock in that way as well. A pretty good start there. We even got another EXP share down onto the second Ting-Lu, and we see the Radiant Alakazam, so that combos very well with the Ting-Lu. The Ting-Lu can snipe 20 to the bench, and then the Alakazam can move 10 from that Pokemon to another Pokemon on the next turn, thus locking yet another ability. We even got the 2 fighting energies into the discard pile so that you can use the Koraidon's ability to put 2 energies from your discard pile onto that Ting-Lu and then end your turn. So pretty great start from Alberto. The only other thing that would have been great would be an actual attachment for the turn. But as long as he has maybe another switching card on the next turn, it's not really going to matter too much. Or no, maybe he did get that. Is that... It's a little hard to tell. I do apologize for the glare. But I do believe maybe that is 3 energy on there. So I think he did attach for turn. So Alan, playing that Lost Box, is going to use the Colress's Experiment to be able to look at the top 5 of his deck, Lost Zone 2 of those cards, and put the other 3 into his hand. So we see the Switch Cart and the Water Energy going into the Lost Zone. The Lost Zone being on top of his V-Star marker that is the graded Buzzwole GX, one of Alan's favorite Pokemon. So since the Comfey was benched from hand, the Gape Jaw Bog does put that 20 damage onto that Comfey, so we see that there. So that Comfey on the bench will not be able to use Flower Selecting unless Alan's able to do something along the lines of play Switch Cart. That would heal it, but of course it would also move it out of the active spot if it's there. So not getting too much value off of the benched Comfey here, but we are going to go for another Battle VIP pass. We're going to get yet another Comfey here. So Alan is getting set up pretty well. He has the Dragonite V on his bench as well. Dragonite V being one of the main attackers of this version of what's normally referred to as Turbo Lost Box. You normally want to turbo yourself to at least 7 in the Lost Zone so that you can use the Mirage Gate card in order to power up that Dragonite and then just hit for 250, which is enough to one-shot a Ting-Lu that does not have a Bravery Charm on it. Sometimes these Ting-Lus do play Bravery Charm in order to make the HP just a little bit better. That would put it at 290 HP remaining, so makes it so it's not a one-shot with the Dragonite. But even if that comes into play, Alan can always Sableye in a future turn to try to get around to that and still get the knockout. We see the Forest Seal also comes down onto this Dragonite V. Another great card. Allows you to use a V-Star power to search your deck for any one card, and then you could always, at the very least, just search for the Lost Vacuum and then use that to get rid of your own Forest Seal Stone, getting 2 extra cards into the Lost Zone. And we see Alan still going off to the races, has been able to utilize 2 Flower Selectings as well as the Chorus to get 4 total cards in the Lost Zone just this one turn. So pretty powerful there. Alan even getting 2 item cards off of the Pokestop, which is fantastic. I myself always mill double Chorus's Experiment off of my Pokestops, but not everybody is as unlucky as me. So we're seeing a second Escape Rope here is going to force that Ting-Lu back to the bench. I'm not 100% sure if that's where Alan wants it, but since he does, well, actually it is, because now that it's forced to go back to the bench and Alberto is choosing to put the Squawkabilly back up, that does reactivate the abilities of any of Alan's Pokemon that have damage counters on them. The Ting-Lu only works when it is active, so Alan could have actually switched into the damaged Comfey and used its Flower Selecting, and then maybe switch cart into the Cramorant to do 110. So Alan could have gotten 1 more card into the Lost Zone, but that depends on if he has the switch card in his hand, or just an energy to attach and retreat would have worked as well, because I don't believe he did that yet this turn. But we do see Alberto is going to go for an attach and retreat of his own, and he is going to move damage counters with the Radiant Alakazam to spread to this next Comfey, locking that one out of its own ability. And we're going to do 150 to the active and 20 to the other bench Comfey. So now every single one of those Comfeys no longer has an ability that is able to be used since this Ting-Lu is active. So Alan's going to have to play Boss's Orders or maybe an Escape Rope. But even if he does Escape Rope again, Alberto could always put up that second Ting-Lu that's on the bench. So Alan is certainly not in the best position just because of the ability lock, but he can potentially play around it, so we'll have to see exactly what he can do. But at the very least, Chorus's Experiment is pretty great here, allowing you to get 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. We are now at 5, 6, 7 cards, so we can Mirage Gate this turn potentially. It would be really cool to see maybe the Radiant Greninja attack. You could soften up the active while also putting 90 to the Squawkabilly that's already damaged on the bench to be able to take 2 prize cards this turn. But we'll just have to wait and see if that ends up working out like that. Alan does even get the Pal Pad to put double Chorus's Experiment back in, so now he has possibly access to all 4 Chorus yet again. You'll love to see it. Pal Pad for double Chorus is probably one of the best plays that Lost Box seems to be able to do, in my opinion. So what else comes out from Alan here? The problem here is the fact that there is the Comfeys all being shut off, so I think Alan might be using his Sky Seal Stone here. I think he just pointed to his V-Star marker. I don't think he actually flipped it, because he does have his Lost Zone on top of it. But yeah, he's definitely using the Forest Seal Stone here. Alberto's V-Star marker is actually that little New York State license plate thing that says Alberto on it. I always love to see that from him, in case anybody's wondering. So if he flips his little New York State license plate over, that's what that means. And again, as I said earlier, Alan does use the Lost Vacuum to get rid of his own Forest Seal after he used the Forest Seal, so he might have even searched for that Lost Vacuum if he didn't have it already. Even gonna go for a Super Rod to put in Water, Lightning, Psychic, setting up for the Mirage Gate play that is coming out right now. So, Alan, of course, could attack with the Radiant Greninja, but a little bit better of an attack here is to come out from the Dragonite. The Dragonite can just one-shot the Ting-Lu here. It will put damage to his whole bench, thus shutting off his Radiant Greninja's ability as well. But it's perfectly fine to just take a nice big 2-prize knockout. We see double Mirage Gate even is going to put 1 energy onto the Comfey so it can retreat, while finishing setting up that Dragonite V on the bench. So we are going to see a retreat into the Dragonite and use its attack, which I can't remember the name of, for 250 damage, 20 to his entire bench. So that could become relevant because now between the Radiant Alakazam and the other Ting-Lu, we could potentially see some Comfeys just get knocked out on the bench. As you can see, they have 30 damage left on them. You could move 20 from one of the Comfeys to another, and then snipe it with Ting-Lu to take the knockout. But unfortunately, Alberto is 1 energy card short because he had to attach to retreat the Squawkabilly on the last turn. He was not able to attach for turn to the Ting-Lu, and had he done that, he would be 1 attach for turn away from being able to get there this turn. It looks like he is himself going to be using the Pokestop to get a Trekking Shoes, which gets another Trekking Shoes. Looks like he's going to keep the card off of that, and it is a Gutsy Pickaxe. Unfortunately, not getting a Fighting Energy off of that. If he got a Fighting Energy off of that, that would have been huge. So for those who don't know what Gutsy Pickaxe does, it just says draw a card. If that's a Fighting Energy, attach it. It's quite literally it. When I was testing a lot of Darkrai V-Star when it first came out, I was actually, or maybe not when it first came out, a little bit before people actually started playing it, I was actually testing it with 4 Gutsy Pickaxe in the deck because I thought 4 Trekking Shoes was not enough to get that deck going. I think that deck still requires quite a lot. We are going to see some damage counters being moved here. 1 off of the Radiant Greninja. Again, that's all you need is 1 damage counter to turn that ability off. And we're going to switch cart into the Radiant Alakazam. We're going to force it so that if Alan does attack, he's only taking 1 prize, plus he's knocking out one of his own Comfeys. So Alan actually, surprisingly, not in the best position, even though Alberto really doesn't have too much going on here either. But at the very least, he can end his turn by using the Koraidon's ability to put 2 Fighting Energies from his discard pile onto that Ting-Lu. So it will come down to whether or not Alan has access to the boss's orders. And since the Ting-Lu is not in the active spot, that does allow Alan to maybe play some switch cards and especially switch cart in order to not only heal those Comfeys, but also use their flower selecting abilities. So I would like to see that from Alan this turn. And yep, looks like the actually, instead of the Ting-Lu, we're going in with the Koraidon. So the Koraidon does actually do more damage. It does 220. So I think what Alberto's trying to do here is he's actually setting up the Koraidon to be able to one-shot the Dragonite V. He can move 10 damage from one of the benched Pokemon to the active with the Alakazam if it lives a turn. And then he can finish it off for 220 with the Koraidon. The other thing he could do is he could hit for 220 and then maybe boss the Dragonite to the bench or escape rope it to the bench and then finish it off with a Hawlucha as well. He does have a Hawlucha right now in play. I think there's one in the discard pile as well, so I'm not sure if he has any more Hawluchas left available to him. I'm not sure what his Ting-Lu deck looks like. I'm not even sure what a regular Ting-Lu, just like the general, I'm not sure what the general list looks like that most people play. We see the Pokestop from Alan is going to mill 1, 2 item cards. You'll love to see it. Alan consistently getting 2 item cards with his Pokestop whenever he goes for it. Even gets that Energy Recycler. He is playing that because he does have the Kyogre in the deck as well. And here comes the Escape Rope. So I think the best thing for Alberto to promote here is the Ting-Lu. That way he can shut off the abilities of the Comfeys. And yeah, Alan getting a little punished for having the Escape Rope as his switching card. But at the very least, he can still use Switch Cart potentially to heal the Comfey, and then just take some prize cards with that Dragonite. And that would prevent himself from allowing Alberto to take prize cards on this turn. So we do see the Sableye is here as well. The Sableye could come in, finish off that Squawkabilly on the bench, if we can switch into that. And there is the Switch Cart. Again, you'll love to see it. We're going to go back into the Dragonite, it looks like. And then just hit and then do 20 to our whole bench. Again, that puts the Comfeys down, 2 of those Comfeys down to 10 HP remaining. So again, the Alakazam can just take a knockout that way. Yep, so the Greninja should go to 3, and then the Sableye goes to 2 damage counters as well. Yep, so here comes the Koraidon. That gets an additional energy card here from the EXP share when that Ting-Lu got knocked out. But nothing you can really do with that 1 additional energy. You can hit for 220 here, and then not be able to attack next turn is, I'm pretty sure, the effect of the attack. The same as Miraidon, its partner there. Yeah, Alan used his V-Star, but he never actually flipped his marker. It's still upright, the Buzzwole there. We're going to mill 3 non-item cards with the Pokestop from Alberto, and I'm not sure exactly what else he does here. He has to make sure the Dragonite goes down this turn, otherwise he loses. And he might want to make sure the Sableye goes down this turn as well, so... because Alan could just have a Psychic Energy in order to take the knockout. Looks like Alberto is moving 1 damage counter from the Comfey to the active, and then taking the knockout. And yeah, here comes the Clara, is going to get the Psychic Energy out of the discard pile so you can Sableye and knock out the Squawkabilly on the bench. So that is a GG there. If I think Alberto could have actually had that game. The only thing that he needed there was an Iono on that last turn. If he was able to play Iono, if he has that in his deck, he would have been able to put Alan to a 2-card hand, plus his draw for turn, and potentially brick him out there, giving him the necessary turns to be able to use Alakazam multiple times and knock out a bunch of Alan's different bench Pokemon. But yeah, just could not quite get there. So Alberto just a little bit short, and we're going to go into the game 2 here. Alberto will most likely be choosing to go first. And hopefully we see a first turn like he did in the first game, where he was able to accelerate into some energies into play with that Koraidon. It would also be nice if he maybe starts Ting-Lu instead of the Squawkabilly. Well, actually, he started Koraidon and had to Squawkabilly and put it active. Alan accidentally reveals one of the cards from his deck, but just puts it right back where it is. I don't think anybody really cares. The game hasn't really started, so not that big of a deal, especially at a league challenge. I usually am a little bit more lax with my opponents' mistakes like that if it's a league challenge, because they don't... Sometimes you just show up and get points, right? Kind of like I did at this league challenge. So we go for the Battle VIP Pass after starting the Koraidon yet again. We're going to get out at least 1 Ting-Lu, maybe the Radiant Alakazam. Double Ting-Lu wouldn't be too bad. Looks like we're going to go for the Squawkabilly. Again, that Squawkabilly has a really great way to set up your first turn, getting those fighting energies into the discard pile for the Koraidon's ability. What is it? Dino Cry, I want to say it's called, but that could be completely wrong. We also see an Ultra Ball is getting rid of a basic energy as well as an Iono. You'd prefer to see the Iono saved for later in the game, but sometimes if you open it a little bit too early, you gotta just discard it, especially since he's most likely using the Squawk ability here right now. So that supporter was gonna get discarded either way. So might as well discard it with the Ultra Ball before you use Squawk and Seize. And here it is, Squawk and Seize, discarding Ting-Lu, Iono Research. Oof. Not the best there. I would love to see an attach for turn. We're going to use Trekking Shoes. Look at the top card. We're going to keep it. Not quite sure what that is. It looked like a trainer card. Another Trekking Shoes coming out here. Going to mill the Battle VIP Pass. We don't need any more Pokemon in play necessarily. We already got the 2 Ting-Lus we need. We get another Trekking Shoes. Just chain in those Trekking Shoes back to back. Here is an EXP share. Again, that is a great card to have in this deck. And we go for the Ultra Ball, discarding another basic energy, as well as I believe that was a Koraidon. And we're going to be able to search our deck for any one Pokemon. We do have one more bench space. Maybe we could go for the Hawlucha just to save it in hand for next turn. We're really just playing that out so that we can get the basic energy in the discard pile. And yes, it looks like we are going for the Hawlucha for next turn, saving that bench space specifically for it. You wouldn't want to bench that right now because, of course, your opponent has no bench Pokemon. And that is one of the important reasons why, in this current format, I think that you should just start your active Pokemon and not put any Pokemon on your bench until you actually start playing the game. Especially if you are going second. I guess if you're going first, it doesn't matter. But if you're going second, definitely don't put any extra Pokemon onto your bench because your opponent could always escape rope something into the active spot, like a Duraludon that does not want to be in the active spot up to there. And you can also, you know, if you started extra Comfeys on the bench, Alberto could have turn 1 used that Hawlucha to shut off your abilities, potentially. If he had maybe the escape rope to switch into the Ting-Lu, so... we do have Koraidon using its ability to get those 2 fighting energy into play. I almost want to say maybe Alberto should have saved that Ultra Ball for this turn. Just because of the fact that he did not have an attachment for a turn. He got that second fighting energy into the discard pile with that Ultra Ball, but that's it. So he could have just Koraidon'd one of the energy into play after attaching for turn and save the Ultra Ball for the next turn, maybe discard something a little bit different to get that Hawlucha. Or if you, say, were to get Iono'd, I know that normally Lost Box doesn't play Iono, but sometimes, some rare occasions they actually do. Some certain lists I've seen play it. It's, again, very uncommon, but Alan could always potentially Iono that Hawlucha down to the bench, to the bottom of the deck, and then you kind of wasted your Ultra Ball. So we are going to Flower Selecting, getting rid of the Energy Recycler. You hate to see that go away so early, just because that is so important for setting up the Kyogre, potentially. You want to make sure you deck yourself out, then use Energy Recycler so that the Kyogre can hit the maximum 250 to 2 bench Pokemon. And I don't think that Alberto is playing Manaphy in this deck, so being able to go for the Kyogre play would be pretty great in this matchup. We see another mill from Pokestop. This game is going to get a Battle VIP pass into the hand, so we're going to be able to search for even more benched Pokemon. So getting more Comfeys out now means the potential that there's going to be more abilities next turn. Try to get use out of all of the Comfeys this turn, and then next turn the Hawlucha is going to come out, as well as most likely a Ting-Lu attack, and 3 of those Comfeys are likely going to get damaged. So if you can get multiple Pokemon into play this turn, just use all those Comfey's abilities. Those would be great. But looks like Alan's going for the better play of getting the Cramorant and the Dragonite V down. He might have a Forest Seal for use with that Dragonite. Yeah, it looks like there is the Forest Seal in hand, so we could actually see that come out here. We are going to go for the second Flower Selecting with this Comfey. That's going to put a fourth card into the Lost Zone so that we can see the attack with Cramorant here. And maybe even an escape rope would be really great, because then that could potentially put one of the Ting-Lus into the active spot, or that Squawkabilly again. You could get that free Cramorant hit. That was pretty good in Game 1. Game determinative, if I can say my words correctly, last time, because it set up for the late game Sableye play. And here it is. We're just going to switch cart into the Cram. Again, don't like to see the switch cart being used that early, just because that can heal your Comphase in order to be able to use their abilities while the Ting-Lu is in the active spot. But again, the Ting-Lu only works if it is in the active spot. So you could always force it out of the active with something like Boss's Orders to get those Comphase back online, even if they have the damage counters on them. So it looks like the Hawlucha is coming out, neutering both of those Comphase. We are going to see the Pokestop milling Gutsy Pickaxe Trekking Shoes Research. So we're going to get the Gutsy Pickaxe is going to draw one card. Of course, that is not exactly what you want to see. You wanted to see the Fighting Energy. We are going to Trekking Shoes here. Keep that card. Not sure what it is. And attach return to the Ting-Lu. Do we have a switching card to be able to move this Koraidon out of the active? Because if we don't, Alan can just hit with the Cramorant yet again and really punish you there. But we do see a research. Hopefully we'll be able to dig into that card we need. Do we have an escape rope or a switch of some sort? Looks like we do have the escape rope, so now Alan needs to choose, do you let one of the Comphase go down, or do you let the Dragonite take a hit? And I think you'd rather just let one of the Comphase go down, just because it's already not going to have an ability, it's only a one-prizer, and then you can save the Dragonite from being blown up, basically. So I would actually like to see the Ting-Lu hit into the Dragonite on the bench for the 20. Because that will set you up for being able to one-shot it with a Koraidon in a future turn. If you can maybe get an EXP share on it, and another energy for turn, maybe on the next turn. Because I think this Ting-Lu might actually be able to live a turn. Unless Alan has access to the Chorus's Experiment, he might be able to get there. But looks like we, yes, we moved a damage counter from the active to the bench, so that Cramorant's ability is now shut off, and the Dragonite now has the 2 damage counters on it, so we will actually see that be within range of a potential Koraidon. But Alberto's really going to have to start hitting off of those Gutsy Pickaxes for once. He hasn't hit a single Gutsy Pickaxe Fighting Energy yet. And here is the Chorus's Experiment for Alan, getting rid of the double battle VIP pass. You don't even have to think about it. You never want to see those after turn 1, so if they're in your Chorus's Experiment, they go straight to the Lost Zone. The thing I hate is when I see 3 Battle VIP Pass off of my Chorus's Experiment and I'm forced to keep one. It really hurts. It makes me wish I could just Lost Zone those 3 and just keep the other 2, but it doesn't work out that way, unfortunately. We're going to Nest Ball here for a Sableye. I think we are, let's see, we're at 4 or 5. We're at 6 in the Lost Zone right now. We should be at, so a little bit far off still, but I know we have that Forest Seal Stone in hand. You could always use that to search for the Lost Vacuum, but do you have the Mirage Gate or vice versa right now? I do see we have a Lightning Energy in hand. I think maybe a Water as well. It's very hard to tell from this angle. But here comes Forest Seal Stone down to the Dragonite V. We are going to use that Forest Seal Stone. Again, Alan not flipping over his V-Star marker. Just saying he's using the Forest Seal Stone. He's pretty good. I'm sure he knows whether or not he's used his V-Star power in a turn. But, again, very important to flip over that marker just to tell your opponent that you've used it. Gets the Lost Vacuum out of the deck with that. And as you can see, Alan's doing this with his hand because he's like trying to do math. He's trying to figure out exactly how to sequence his hand to try to get the maximum effectiveness out of all of his cards. He's going to go for the escape rope here. That will force the Ting-Lu out of the active spot. If Alberto wants to keep this ability lock online, he does have to move into the second Ting-Lu. So he will have to find another switch card if Alan is unable to find the pieces for the knockout here. But the Dragonite is going active. That is telegraphing to me that he most likely has the Mirage Gate play available to him. I do see a Mirage Gate in hand. We are going to Lost Zone the Lightning Energy from hand, as well as that Forest Seal Stone now that it has been used. We should be at least 7, I think 8 in the Lost Zone right now to be able to play this Mirage Gate. So now what we need is a water out of the deck with this Mirage Gate, and then we have to play a second Mirage Gate, because I don't know. I do see that there's... Yeah, this is rough. So, most of the time, these decks only play 2 Lightning Energy, and I think both of them were in his hand. One of them is now in the Lost Zone, of course. So he has to attach that one for turn, and that means he needs a second Mirage Gate this turn in order to get another Water Energy into play. He does get the Psychic Energy onto the Sableye, but again, does Alan have that Mirage Gate? I do know that these players told me each one of them misplayed during a game, and it looks like this was the misplay that Alan made during the game. So I think Alberto said he made a misplay during game 1, and then Alan made a misplay during game 2. I didn't notice exactly what Alberto's was, but it might have depended on what was in his hand, if there was a better play than one of the things he did earlier. I guess maybe trying to set up the Koraidon and then not really having a follow-up, maybe. But Alan definitely not being able to get that Dragonite attack off is pretty punishing. He could have knocked out the Ting-Lu with the EXP share on it, making sure that that never gets any energy onto it. If he were to knock out the other Ting-Lu, that energy would move to this Ting-Lu, so a little bit better. Softening... A little bit better playing around the potential of the EXP share. But Alan just went for the first attack with the Dragonite. I forgot what it is. Is it Shred? Is it something like that? Just does 50 damage. So we do see an attach for turn coming out from Alberto here. And I would really like to see him have a switch card to be able to go into the other Ting-Lu that has all the energy already on it. That would be the best course of action for this turn. We are going to see the Iono, so Alberto is going to shuffle his hand up, put it on the bottom of the deck and draw 5. Alan's going to shuffle his hand up, put it on the bottom and draw 6, because it is equal to the amount of prize cards you have remaining. Iono being probably the best card in the format right now, very reminiscent of N that we had in a couple previous formats. But instead of shuffling your whole hand into the deck with the potential to redraw into those cards, since you shuffle and put that hand on the bottom, makes it that much less likely that you're going to be able to redraw into whatever you were holding into your hand. So Alberto does play the Escape Rope, is going to allow his Ting-Lu to come back into the active spot, that one that has all of the energy loaded up. And now if this active Ting-Lu does get knocked out, the energy does move to the bench, and then he's just one attach for turn away from having another Ting-Lu set up. So that forced a Comfey into the active position. That gets knocked out from the 150, and then we're putting another 20 down to the Dragonite. It looks like we have 50 on it now. I think we might have moved some damage counters with the Radiant Alakazam. Yeah, one from that Comfey that was in the active went to the Dragonite. So, since it starts at 230 HP, that means it has 180 remaining. So, an attack from a Ting-Lu will still leave it with 30 HP remaining. So, I'm not sure if this is still the best position for Alberto, but at least he gets to play around with all that damage. I think the next thing is maybe Alberto will want a Boss's Orders next turn to be able to knock out the Sableye and put another 20 onto the Dragonite. But again, Dragonite just hitting for 250 is pretty scary. So Alan just needs to attach a Water Energy for turn. He did have it in his hand before, but it got Iono'd to the bottom of the deck. So Alan needs to now find a new Water Energy card. So it looks like Alan is going to Clara back just 2 Comfeys, it looks like. No energy. I'm not sure if I agree with not getting back any energy, because that's one less Super Rod that you have to play later in the game if your hand goes back into the deck. But I guess if your hand never goes back into the deck, then you have all of your energies in your hand. Especially if you don't have a Greninja in your hand right now, it's not super useful. So we do see the switch card is going to heal off 30 from that Dragonite. Again, very important in this matchup. We're going to use this new Comfey that we just placed down. Since the Pokestop replaced the Gape Draw Bog, this Comfey does not take damage when being put onto the bench. So we will be able to see a Flower selecting this turn. Hopefully we'll be able to find a Mirage Gate so that this Comfey itself can retreat and get that last water energy we need to the Dragonite. Alan really needs to start taking prize cards because he has not done so yet. Looks like we get the Echoing Horn into the Lost Zone, and the Heavy Ball is able to find the Radiant Greninja out of the prize cards. That's why we have not seen it just yet. But again, that's why I think Alan should have gotten at least 1 energy card out of the discard pile with that Clara. He almost did it. Now he would have been able to use concealed cards here. So I think that's a pretty big misplay here from Alan, not getting that energy back. But then again, you don't know that you're going to hit the Heavy Ball off your 1 Flower selecting you do for the turn, right? So, but at the very least, maybe try to prepare for it, because that could help you draw into your water energy. We're going to see the Pokestop. Going to mill Chorus, Switch Cart, Chorus. That's how I play Pokestop right there. You love to see it. I mean, I'm sarcastic. But there is also the Mirage Gate. So we are able to actually get there. So we can put a water energy to our benched Dragonite, and then any other color energy to our active to switch it. We could also switch cart as well too. We could get 1 more Flower selecting off this turn. That would not be too bad. Yep, so Psychic to the active, and then the Water Energy to the Dragonite. Now we just want to see that retreat. And then we will hit for 250 damage. And then 20 to our whole bench is not really what you want to be doing, but you don't really have any other choice here, so. Because that's going to shut off his own Comfey's ability. So it makes this matchup really weird. Like, I would say it's probably favored for Lost Box because you have the Dragonite and the Switch Carts. But the Ting-Lu's ability lock is still just pretty powerful. So Alberto did get an energy from that EXP share when the Ting-Lu was knocked out. So he just needs 1 more energy to attach for turn to be able to attack with that Ting-Lu. Let's see. Can he knock anything out as well with the combination of the Radiant Alakazam? I don't think he's quite there yet. I mean, he could preemptively start moving damage counters to set that up. So I would say maybe move 1 from the Greninja to the Comfey would feel pretty good here this turn. It almost makes me personally want to play, like, if I were to play Ting-Lu, I would want to maybe play, instead of Koraidon, I think personally I would play Arceus Ting-Lu. Because then I could also, not only would I be playing the Alakazam, but I could also play, Medicham and Yoga Loop, because the Yoga Loop is a double turbo energy. So that synergizes pretty well with the Arceus, and then you can just, yeah, just start setting up the Ting-Lus that way. That would definitely have a favorable Arceus matchup for sure, because you're hitting them for 300. With your Ting-Lus as well as doing bench snipe damage. So I might have to test that out. Yeah, maybe on the stream, the next time I stream, I might test out Arceus Ting-Lu. I'm sure so. No, actually, no, that doesn't work. What am I thinking? Arceus only charges up Pokemon V, and Ting-Lu is an EX. So it looks like Alberto does switch cart into the Hawlucha. I think he's just trying to buy himself a turn here. I'm not quite sure what he's getting from that, though. I think you really just want to attack with the... Yeah, I think you just want to attack with your active. I guess Alan does get to take the 2 prizes on your Ting-Lu, and this way it allows you to start setting up your Koraidon. So yeah, I think this is the better play, to just switch into the Hawlucha and just let Alan have another turn. But the downside of that is that could give Alan the potential to just start attacking with Sableye this turn, and that could actually knock out the Koraidon on the bench. Yeah, so this might actually be a misplay. I think it might have been better to just attack with the Ting-Lu and not make it so that the Sableye is a factor. Because you could always move damage counters and then snipe with the Ting-Lu to be able to take out a Sableye. In combination with that Radiant Alakazam, Mr. Spoonman himself. So Alan using another Colress's experiment. Gotta, again, put that Energy Recycler in the Lost Zone. Or, I guess he must be playing 2 Energy Recycler for the Kyogre, which would make sense. That's not too uncommon to see. I think most of the time now I see multiple Super Rods, like 3 Super Rods with 1 Energy Recycler for a Kyogre deck, but still playing 2 Energy Recycler is still really good. You just can't get as many Pokemon back, because you would probably be playing like 2 Rod, 2 Recycler, I would assume. And we do see Alan is going for the Escape Rope here. So Ting-Lu comes back up, shutting off these abilities. And Alan is going to have to switch as well, probably into the Sableye. We should be at 10 cards in the Lost Zone at this point. Alan is going into the Comfey, it looks like, so maybe he has a switch cart to start healing the damage off of his own Comfey here. But he's going to decide against it. Looks like we are going into the Sableye instead. And we are just going to use that Lost Mine, 12 damage counters onto your opponent's Pokemon however you want. I think maybe 1 to the Alakazam, 4 to the... Well, no, let's see. You need 110 to the Koraidon in order to knock it out, right? Or no, you need 120. It's got 230 HP. So yeah, just all 120 to the Koraidon and knock it out. But it looks like Alan is switching back into the Dragonite. Maybe he doesn't have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, but I think he does at the moment. I think using the Sableye here would be a lot better to make sure that your Dragonite does not get knocked out on this next turn. Then the only thing that Alberto can attack with is that Ting-Lu, and then you just win the game with the Dragonite after that. Although maybe Alberto can try to bench wipe for some extra prizes after that. I don't think he can. I don't think he can take enough prize cards with the Ting-Lu. But it looks like we are gonna just take the knockout with the Dragonite. I think that is a misplay, though. I think it would have been better to Lost Mine to the Koraidon for the full 120. Knock it out, take those 2 prize cards, and then have the Dragonite for the Ting-Lu on the next turn. Because again, Ting-Lu only does 150 at most to an active Pokemon. And you did heal damage from your Dragonite as well, so it only has 20 damage on it. So the Koraidon can attack and knock out the Dragonite, but I guess now you can Lost Mine this turn and take the final 2 prizes. So I guess it doesn't matter either way. Yeah, it really doesn't matter either way. So I guess switch carding the Sableye to make sure it doesn't have as much bench damage on it. Yeah, I think that is more correct, actually, looking back on that. Because you've now healed the Sableye, so now it can't get knocked out by Radiant Alakazam, and I think it might have been able to if you did it the other way. So it looks like we're going to move some damage with the Alakazam here onto that Comfey. Probably going to go snipe that this turn. Or no, he can't snipe that because it's not a Ting-Lu. And just takes the knockout on the active. We see Alan draw. And just a Lost Mine. Right? Am I missing something? Does Koraidon have more than 230 HP? Is there not? Like, Alan has 2 prizes left, right? I could be wrong. Oh, God damn it. Alright, well, I can't look it up while I'm doing this also because it keeps minimizing for some reason. And just crams the... Yeah, hang on. Let me look that up. So Koraidon EX has 230, and it has 110 on it. So you just lost mine from the knockout, right? Am I seriously missing something? I don't know what I'm missing. Does he really just have 9 cards in the Lost Zone? I guess he must just have 9 cards in the Lost Zone. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't just use Lost Mine. Unless he doesn't have enough cards in the Lost Zone. So, I mean, if he has 9 cards in the Lost Zone, he just made the most correct play he could have. We do see the switch cart into the Squawkabilly. And that would also explain why he didn't attack with the Sableye the turn before as well. So he switch carts into the Squawkabilly. He can now retreat into the Koraidon to take the knockout here. And Alan just needs to find another Lost Zone card, basically. But again, Alan could just promote Comfey, flower selecting, and then retreat into the Sableye. Again, to take... Oh, well, now he can't because the switch cart just allowed Alberto to heal damage. Yeah, no, I think that should be 1 less, actually. I think he only healed 20. But yeah, now I don't think Alan has any way to win. As long as Alberto, of course, has 1 more switch and energy to reset the Koraidon's attack yet again. Oh, but it looks like Alan could maybe set up this Kyogre. We're going to attach for turn. We're going to Super Rod. He did fail a Mirage Gate on the last turn. I think just to check the cards left in deck. So maybe he is setting up the Kyogre now. He only needs to take 1 more prize card. Yeah, we are going to go Mirage Gate to put 2 energies to the Kyogre. And then we need 1 more Super Rod or Energy Recycler to be able to win the game. So we are going to go for the Escape Rope. That will put the Kyogre active. Of course, Alan could have also retreated into another Pokemon and then Escape Roped to get that water energy, or that psychic energy on his Sableye back into the discard pile so he could Energy Recycler it. Okay, so now he's attacking with the Sableye. So why didn't he do that before? Yeah, I think Alan just punted this game for no reason. Yeah, that's the misplay he made, is that he didn't attack with Sableye when this had 120 on it. Because he still has the same amount of cards in the Lost Zone, so he can't have 9. And now if Alberto just gets another switch card. And, looks like he's researching into his entire deck, gets the switch card that he needs in order to attack again. And, that's the game. So, we're gonna go into a game 3 now. Let me see if I can just skip ahead a little bit. Alan should be going first here. I don't think there's going to be enough time left in the round to be able to win the game. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I should really just have a timer on screen for all of these matches. Because not only does that help you guys know how much time should be approximately left in the round, but it also helps me. So I think maybe videos going forward from this one, I'll start doing that. There is room on the screen, of course. That would be good. I like that idea. So we do see the concealed cards is coming out. Alan's going to be able to draw 2 cards by discarding that energy with that Greninja. And then Comfey's flower selecting ability to put a card in the Lost Zone and a card in hand. I know I usually say a card in Lost Zone and then a card in hand for both Comfey and for the Colress, but it's actually the other way. You put the cards in your hand first and then the other cards in your Lost Zone. So if you actually only have 1 card left in deck and you use flower selecting, you draw it. You don't have the option to put it in the Lost Zone because you put 1 card in hand and then you put the other card in the Lost Zone. If there's only 1 card, you just draw it. Same with Colress. If there's just 3 cards left in deck, I'm pretty sure you just draw all 3. And then you don't put any in the Lost Zone. If you had 4, you would put the last one in the Lost Zone, etc. So we're seeing some Gutsy Pickaxes, some Trekking Shoes. Again, no Gutsy Pickaxes are hitting Fighting Energy. That's really unfortunate for Alberto, because I would really love to see a Gutsy Pickaxe go off. So Alberto did start Ting-Lu. He does have another Ting-Lu, it looks like, on the bench with the the EXP share, as well as the Koraidon. So if we can get some fighting energies into the discard pile, we might be able to see the ability of the... Actually, now that I have it up... Dino Cry. I was correct. Yeah, the Dino Cry ability to get 2 fighting energies from your discard pile into play onto your Ting-Lu. So we are going to see Escape Rope. Looks like we're going to put the other Ting-Lu up. I think if we were going to Escape Rope with this Ting-Lu, I think I would have just put the EXP share on the other Ting-Lu instead. But it looks like we're still setting up the one on the bench. So yeah, that's still more correct to have the EXP share on the one that doesn't have the energy. So Alan going for the Nest Ball, since that Comfey comes directly from deck into play onto the bench with the Nest Ball, that bypasses the Gape Draw Bog, because that only activates when you play a Pokemon from your hand down to the bench. So that Comfey not going to be able to take the 2 damage counters from Gape Draw Bog. And Alan is going to use Colress's Experiment to put a Water Energy and the Echoing Horn into the Lost Zone. Doesn't really need the Echoing Horn in this match most of the time. Because Alberto should be putting enough 2 prizers into play that Alan can just one-shot with the Dragonite. Hopefully Alan doesn't prize the Dragonite, but if he does, hopefully he still has access to the Heavy Ball as well. So the problem with this game would be if he prized both the Heavy Ball and the Dragonite, because then he doesn't really have a good response for the Ting-Lu. Even if he was able to set up the Raikou, which I haven't seen from him yet, but I'm assuming he's playing. That would not be able to one-shot a Ting-Lu, because it has too much HP. I think 230? I think they all have 230, right? The Koraidon and the Ting-Lu. So we are going to retreat our active by attaching the Water Energy to it and use Spit Innocently from the Cramorant to do 110 to this active Ting-Lu. And finally, we see the Gutsy Pickaxe hit is going to start charging up this Dino Crying Koraidon. Looks like we get another Gutsy Pickaxe from the opponent's Pokestop. We're able to draw a Battle VIP pass with it. Oh, I would have loved to see the Gutsy Pickaxe hit here as well. Wait, did Alan 2-0 him? Am I forgetting? Am I forgetting how this game went? So are they just playing a game 3 because... Are they just playing a game 3 because my game's not finished yet next to them? Is that what happened here? Because I thought they tied this round, honestly. If I was remembering correctly. Like, spoilers. But I'm just starting to think about it. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't Alan win both games? Or am I just really... Is my memory just shot from playing in this tournament and then coming home and immediately recording? Hang on, guys. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, no, Alberto... No, Alan won game 1 and then Alberto won game 2. And I'm just like... My brain is shot. I shouldn't be recording right now. I apologize. Let me recenter myself. Yeah, there's only 6 minutes left in this recording, so they are really close to time, and as you can see, they both still have the 6 prizes. So Alan did attack with this bit innocently. We still have this Ting-Lu is fully loaded up, and now this Ting-Lu has an energy. This Koraidon has 2, so he's got potentially 3 attackers, all pretty much ready to go. So it's actually not looking good for Alan here. If this match does have a conclusion, I think it would be Alberto's game to win, it looks like. Of course, the Crimorant, even though it has fighting resistance, I do believe, it does go down in 1 hit from the 150 damage, being reduced by 30 if there is fighting resistance. And then 20 to the benched Comfey. Alan is going to go in for the Chorus's experiment. Again, 3 cards to the hand, 2 cards to the Lost Zone. We are at... Can't really tell. Looks like maybe 6 cards in the Lost Zone, so it might be 8 now. I think at the very least we should be able to Mirage Gate this turn. There should be at least 7 after this Chorus. So Alan puts the Pokestop and another Chorus into the Lost Zone. Okay, so you know his hand's got to be cracked if he Lost Zones a Chorus with a Chorus. We are going to... search our deck with a Dragonite with the Nest Ball to put that into play. And then searching yet again with another Nest Ball for the Sableye. So all of a sudden, a game that I thought was Alberto's to win is actually coming back into Alan's just off of this one Chorus. He's got pretty much everything deck cracked. Here comes the Mirage Gate, probably a Water and a Lightning to this Dragonite, I would assume. Yep. Pretty self-explanatory plays from this Lost Box deck. Attaches 4 turn to the Dragonite as well, so he will be able to attack with that this turn. But again, you'd really like to see him not waste, like, it almost feels like the Crimorant attack last turn didn't really have any value, because, you know, he hit into a Ting-Lu, and now the Ting-Lu's just getting... It would be one-shot by the Dragonite. We also see the Palpad putting back in double Chorus, and now the Dragonite is taking the, what would have been a 1-hit KO, but now it's a 2-hit KO because of the Cramorant. One of those energies does go to the other Ting-Lu that is already heavily damaged. And then the Koraidon comes out, so this is a little bit scary for Alan, having to devote the Dragonite as the attack this turn. I think it might have been actually better to attack with the Radiant Greninja, because then he could actually put 90 more damage onto both of the Ting-Lus, and then maybe Sableye for the knockout on both of them on the next turn, taking a 4-prize turn. And then he would not be putting down the Dragonite or potentially sacrificing it to the Koraidon. Because as long as we see Radiant Greninja here, Radiant Alakazam, the Radiant Alakazam could move 1 damage counter to the Dragonite, and then just another energy for turn to the Koraidon would have been the knockout. But it looks like instead we are switching our Pokemon around. We are knocking out the Sableye instead, starting to set up that Dragonite there on the bench with the Ting-Lu. Again, forcing Alan into attacking another Ting-Lu that already has damage counters on it, while trying to set up this Koraidon in order to finish the Dragonite off. So I think Alberto's looking to just win this game the same way that he won game 2, where he just keeps switching in and out of the Koraidon. Because that Hawlucha should have a 1 retreat cost, I do believe. It might actually be free retreat. I think it's 1, though. I can't tell from the card. It's a little too zoomed out from the angle here, unfortunately for me. I like, sometimes when you see the wide angle like this, it's because I put the camera on the floor, like the tripod on the floor, and it's overlooking the table. And when you see the full top-down view, that's because I put the tripod on the table, but I don't like putting it on, even though the view is better when I put the tripod on the table, the tables shake. So then you get a lot of shaky cam when it's at that view. So I always prefer to put it on the floor if there's space for the tripod on the floor. So we do see the Ultra Ball coming out here from Alberto. Alan was able to go down to 2 prize cards remaining. Alberto just needs to be able to find that 1 fighting energy to be able to attack with the Koraidon here. Does he have it? He has 1 card in hand, and it's Research. And of course, Alan still could maybe Super Rod and then Mirage Gate again and set up the Dragonite and then take the knockout on the Koraidon on this next turn. But he is going to have to set up a second Dragonite potentially to do that. And as you can see, I just walked past on the right side of the screen. My game is officially over. It was a tie. I managed to barely squeak out a win in Game 2. I barely lost Game 1. I was playing Gardevoir at this tournament, and it looks like, yeah, they were in turns of time, and Alan just... I'm not sure if he... yeah, I think Alan just... I'm not sure what happened at the end there, but let me double check. That happened fast, and I was talking about myself, because I'm full of myself here. So, we do see, in the last 30 seconds, that, I think Alberto was able to not get the knockout on the Dragonite, and then because he missed it off the he missed the energy off the Research, or no, because there's no damage on the Dragonite anymore. So he only does 220, and then Alan just draw passes. And then that was turn 3 of time. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. You see Alan just says pass, and then they tie. Or no, he attacks. Yeah, he attacks for game. But they ended up actually tying. This was further than turns... that was more than just the turn 3 of time. So they were still waiting for my game to finish. So it looks like Alan would have won that, but didn't. So, because he didn't have enough time. So, that's what you get for throwing games. Hope everybody enjoyed. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I know that was a long one, and we will see you guys next time for the next round. And I'm going to see what I can do about getting a timer on screen. I think that would be pretty cool.